At this point, we really need to open up the article and start reading it. I really like this view because it allows you to track where in the paper I'm looking. And that's actually really important because you're going to be looking in very specific sections of the paper for very specific information. So once you've read the shit out of the abstract, I want you to find the paragraph or maybe a few paragraphs right before the methods section. So here's the methods section. I want to start looking at this first paragraph and then working backward from there. I'm looking for some language that indicates that the authors are telling me what the experiment is going to be about. So this is getting a little too specific. In both experiments, participants were presented with generally unfamiliar trivia questions. Like, that's just a little too specific. Why are they doing this? That's what I'm looking for. The rationale. So 2 experiments were conducted to meet these goals. That tells me that the answer I'm looking for is above that. So the present research was designed to examine the effects of curiosity on long-term retention in the context of intentional learning. And then a second goal was to examine the combined effects of reward and curiosity in intentional learning on long-term retention. So those 2 goals are the rationale for this study. And when you're reading a journal article, generally it's going to be the paragraph right before the method section. But again, go backward from there because it might actually appear in the second to last or maybe even the third to last. But those 1 to 3 paragraphs are going to be very quick and concise. Here's our rationale for the study. Here's what we're going to do in order to address our rationale. It's a really succinct section of the paper. Next up, what you're going to do is look at the figures and really try to understand them. So stop and look at the axes. Here we have proportion recalled as a function of no reward or reward, low curiosity versus high curiosity. So right away I can see that high curiosity increases the proportion recalled compared to low curiosity. There does seem to be also a little bit of a benefit to people or to the questions that are going to be rewarded compared to no reward, but it's not huge actually. Experiment 2, this is where it was self-paced. And again, we've got proportion recalled, no reward versus reward. I don't even think that there's probably an interaction here. It looks like it's completely the same. With, again, a curiosity really being the critical factor. Because this was a self-paced experiment, they could also look at the amount of time participants spent studying the specific trivia questions based on no reward versus reward and low curiosity versus high curiosity. You can see that that reward is a big motivator to get people to study the information longer, although it doesn't have a major effect on their outcome, right? The reward didn't actually do better than no reward. And okay, so I've understood the graphs. If I felt like there was something in the graph that I didn't understand, so for example, if I got here and I was like, why do they do study time? I would go back and read through the methods or the results section in order to find that specific information. Remember here when I said I didn't even think that there was an interaction? I could also just look for that information. So if I want to see whether or not there was an interaction between proportion of answers recalled as a function of curiosity and reward in experiment 2, I can find that. Recall. Reward did not predict recall, and there was no interaction between curiosity and recall yet, just like I thought. So I can find that specific information if I really want to seek it out. The next place that you're going to look, once you feel like you've read and understood the figures really well and what they're trying to communicate, move on to the general discussion. And it's the first paragraph in the discussion is usually where the gold really is. So prior research demonstrated, does curiosity play a role in remembering when learners are actively trying to memorize? This mnemonic benefit was observed. Okay, so here we go. The results of the present experiment suggest that indeed there's long-term mnemonic benefits of curiosity during intentional learning. This mnemonic benefit of curiosity was observed regardless of whether study time was fixed or determined by the learner. The present findings therefore provide novel evidence. The current research also shed light on the process of the mnemonic benefit of curiosity. One could argue that curiosity enhances memory simply because learners study items for which they are more curious about for extended periods, which in turn enhances memory for these items. This finding, however, the current findings, however, do not support this notion. So those are the major conclusions here, and it's really going to be in that first paragraph, maybe first 2 paragraphs of the general discussion, where researchers generally have a very lovely, very nice paragraph that is, this is what we did, this is why we did it, this is what we found, this is what we think it means. And yet their discussion will go on to sort of situate the finding within the broader literature. But in terms of getting like a quick overview of what an article is about, that is what you are looking for. You are going to read the shit out of the abstract, find the paragraph or up to 3 paragraphs right before the method section, review all the figures and figure them out, read the captions, read the axes, and work it out. And then read the first paragraph or a few paragraphs in the general discussion. And that will give you a very clear overview of what an article is about.